Mm-mm, mm-mm. Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Michelle Hope, your favorite unapologetic sexologist. It's a Thursday. It's not a Tuesday, so maybe it's not just the tip, but I did want to hop on because earlier this week, I've had some things going with work and I wanted to share. I got a phone call from a friend of a friend who expressed that their child, they noticed pornography on their child's device, their cell phone. And the child is 6, and they wanted to know how to address that. And I felt like this would be a really great conversation to have with all of you because maybe some of this could be helpful to you as I'm going to kind of talk to you about the stages of development, sexual development in young people, especially prepubescent. So we're going to be talking about like 0 to about 8 or 9 and some tips and points of reference. I've got some books and some things for you to be able to kind of go through. My hair was looking crazy there. So where's everybody coming in from? I see people checking in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. You know me. So please, if you have questions, you can drop those in the comment section. I'm going to try to keep up. So sexuality and the stages of sexuality. A lot of people ask me, when should we begin sex education with young people? And I always respond with before they can talk. Some people are like, what? Before they can talk? What? And I want to preface sexuality is from the womb to the tomb. Okay. It is not just the genital act. It encompasses so much. And I've talked about this before when it comes to the circles of sexuality. So it's psychosocial. So it's about the sociology, the psychology, the biology, spiritual variables that impact our interpersonal skills, right? And so when we think about this and we think about the development of a child holistically, we would not want to deprive them from words when they're first coming in to learning as toddlers, as children. Even when you're pregnant, your baby can start to learn your voice and start to even learn words. So talking while you're pregnant. All right. So all that being said, we want to start talking about sexuality from the time you're changing diapers. Penis, vulva, vagina, all very important words. You want to make sure the child knows their body parts and starts to develop body autonomy even before they can talk. I've been giving this advice for a very long time, and I always love to hear stories when mothers come back to me and say, you know what, Michelle? My son knows the word penis and uses it often and will point to the penis and will play with the penis. And the child was under 3. And I was like, that's a really great, healthy thing. It knows its body part. Your son knows his body part. And that will be so crucial in protecting your child from any kind of, mishaps or being able to articulate if somebody has touched them inappropriately. It's always important to prepare children if something was like super bad and you want them to be able to talk to you. So that's your penis. That's your vagina. Mommy has a penis, or mommy has a penis. Some mommies have penises. Whoa, hold on, Michelle. Let me stop myself. But penis, vagina, okay? Breasts, anus, very important. How do you do this? How do you start talking to children? Well, there is a lot of resources out there. Your Body is Awesome is a book that I have used in classes, in parenting classes. And again, this is all going to come to a funny story because I did South African radio yesterday. Yeah, that was fun. We're going to talk about that later, but we're leading into that. So really teaching your young person about their body is super important. So I'm going to show you. And age appropriate is a big thing. So if the child is, I dropped the mouse. If the child is very, very young, they want to explore their body parts. 0 to 2, frequent exploring of body parts. That's like why I said that story. Frequent kind of touching, rubbing genitals. and they learn the behaviors between boys and girls, right? So we program them. It's all a social construct, right? They're watching us. So keep that in mind. The behavior and the relationships that you are displaying 0 to 2. A lot of people make assumptions that babies or young children, they're not going to remember this. They are going to these images of how you behave and what kind of gender norms you set forth or relationships you set forth at even 0 to 2, they're going to be aware of. So be advised. All right. So this book is for really young children, and it just kind of goes through all the different body parts, as you can see. Very, very easy to read. Bodies are fun, jumping, skipping, very neutral, not really. So as you go through the book, it will start to kind of differentiate some of these things. Oh, goodness, I'm dropping all kinds of books today. So that's like a younger thing, right? And then as you start, Robbie Harris is another amazing author. And she has a wide range of books, but let me keep going. So toddlers, 3, 4 years old, again, they're going to start crystallizing this idea of boys and girls. They understand kind of bigger ideas, but they don't get into minutia, right? They just can't comprehend smaller things. So they want to be even more exploratory with the body. If you are seeing them look at you in the shower, if you're seeing totally normal, because they're trying to figure out what parts, who has what. Definitely something you want to just kind of, again, normalize it, name it, and move on. Now, as we get to like 6 and 7, like 6 and 8, you're going to see a lot of potty talk. Farting will become very funny, right? And they'll be very gendered. Their friendships will be very, very gendered. And now there should be a decrease in this idea of self-pleasure or masturbation, okay? Very normal under about 4 and under. But after that, it should be a little bit more decreased because they kind of go out of a kind of sexual phase and into more of like establishing friendships, things of that nature. It's kind of a dead period. So this woman asked, what do I do? My 6-year-old has porn on her phone. And I said, well, first and foremost, parents, please, 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 if you do allow your child to have a smartphone at a younger age, you have got to monitor that, especially now that we are home and we are having like more time on computers and electronics. Please be advised that if your child has a smartphone, you should put some type of monitoring system, especially if they're like 6, 7, 8, under teenage years. It's up to your discrepancy if you choose to do it beyond that. But I would, let them know, tell them once, teens forget. So that way you can kind of be aware. So I say, first and foremost, you want to recognize that the exploration of pornography should not be seen as abnormal. Studies show us that in America, the first exposure is about 8 or 9. So apparently this person has a friend that's maybe 7 or 8. So it's right about that age of curiosity. Again, they might think it's gross, but we don't want them to get into watching this so young. So what I advised was, I said, well, you're going to have to address it. And I think you should first set up a time where you guys can go to lunch, go to a spa, make a home spa day, make a special lunch, a special breakfast, and explain that you found this, but you know that it's okay to have questions and that you're open to those questions. When you're thinking about this age of like 7, 8, 9 to about 13 is a really great time to build like rooted values in relationships, friendships, like family values around how we treat someone we like. If you can start having these conversations, then it becomes a lot easier into adolescence to have a bond in which your child will want to talk to you. And that's really what we want, because after 13, child, after 13, they're not really listening to you so much. They might be, and if they are, great. But oftentimes they have all these other influences coming in. And a part of normal adolescent development is for them to start to think about how they want to be in the world. So what that means is it kind of just, they're trying to test the waters, right? So keep that in mind. So if you can establish early on that sex is an okay thing to talk about, it becomes a lot easier as they get older and their situations become more complex. Is anybody with me? Can I get some hearts or some claps if you're liking what I'm saying? Because that was a mouthful, and I feel like I just spat that on you. And I want to make sure I'm hitting the nose. I'd had some questions about how do parents teach sex ed in the home. There are a lot of resources. So I did want to kind of share those with you. As we continue to think about who was the first person, or where did you first learn about sex? That's a question I often present to parents. And I say, think about what that interaction was. Was it from school? Was it that terrible giving birth video that they showed you in 5th grade? I want you to think back to where you first got your information. And then if you have kids, think about how you would want to have them introduced. Was the experience of how you were introduced to sex a positive one? Was it a negative one? What would you have changed about it? And kind of, I want you to sit there for a moment and think about that. And then think about what do you want? This is the toughest part, I think, right? If you have children, what do you want them to have? And then you have to plan backwards, right? Because you set the values. So if you start these conversations early and you have them often, they become much easier to have. If anybody has any questions, by all means, hop on in, let me know. I would love to engage. This is very difficult. I feel like I'm just chatting. I'm fine today. I'm giving a kind of lesson on how to have conversations with young people about sexuality, and kind of going over. So if any of you are parents, let me know. If you have nieces, if you have nephews, if you, are just interested or have any questions when it comes to this. Oh, somebody said my kids are grown. Sorry. If you want to share what that conversation was like, here's why I ask. So yesterday, I was asked to go on South African radio. And I said, of course, because when the motherland calls, you answer. And they were like, we want to talk about PORN. It's like porn. Okay, cool. Porn. And when I got on the phone, the questions that were asked, might I say, they were hilarious. And while people think about their questions of learning about sex and how you were educated about sex, the questions I received, and I know that in South Africa, it's different. We're raised differently. We have different values. We look at sex differently. Oh, I see something. My little brother friends are really getting phones, and I want to talk to them about porn literacy. Great. So people are asking about porn, and one of the questions kind of shifted to masturbation, and someone asked, can you lose weight by masturbating? That was one question. And these are grown-ups. Can you break your penis because of masturbation? There was a comment made that was like, no woman, all these women in porn are desolate, and that's why they're doing this. They're under coercion. It was so eye-opening to see the lack of knowledge. And only callers were men. I mean, I'm not saying this in a judgment. It's more of an observation, which then makes me think about the lack of sex education there. And the like misnomers around penises and vaginas and just incompatibility. It was very fascinating. So when we think about how we were educated, how does that impact how we move in relationships? And then what we teach younger people and how they move in relationships. So although we start with what is the best way and when do you get into the work, and then later on it's how do you help guide your child to healthier relationships, healthier outcomes, and everything's all mixed up. So somebody asked how I got into this work or why I wanted to do. Well, I think for me, I believe that there's an intersection between race and sexuality. I kind of grew up in a feminist home, and I was raised like activist, going to marches, fighting for gay rights and women's rights. And so I always was interested in this. And then I found out about Dr. Ruth, and I was like, I think I want to do that. And I was like 9. So that's how I got into this work. So, all right. So again, today we've been talking about how do you introduce to a child conversations about sex. So remember, early, often. So as soon before they can talk, penis, vagina, nobody can touch that. Okay. Then when you get to, I have notes, when you're at the toddler, 3 or 4, like I mentioned, very curious about gender, they're going to look at you. They're going to try to see you naked. They'll definitely be masturbating. You ever seen a girl stand over the fire hydrant in the park and you're like, what are you doing? Are you peeing? They're not peeing, probably. They're actually experiencing self-pleasure. So again, yesterday on the South African radio, I was like, we masturbate our whole lives. From the womb to the toe, we're touching ourselves. Some of the questions that you might get with toddlers, 3, 4, maybe even 5. Where do babies come from? And here we go. They don't come from storks, people. They come from mommies and daddies. I mentioned Robbie Harris has some really great books that can help explain where babies come from. 3 and 4 is the best time, if you've already taught them about vagina and penis, to start introducing that there has to be a sperm and there has to be an egg, and mommies have eggs and daddies have sperm. They have to meet, and then they can make a baby. Period, point blank. See how easy that was? It's not in mommy's stomach. It's in something called mommy's womb. Can you say womb? These are ways you can kind of teach children basically how sex works and pregnancy. Get them started on that knowledge early, people. So again, mommies have vaginas, daddies have penises, and vaginas and penises meet. Or if you want, you could say some people have vaginas, some people have penises, so we don't gender necessarily. A penis and a vagina and or a sperm and an egg have to meet. And depending on where you're at, or if you are pregnant, or if you're thinking about getting pregnant and you have a 3, 4, 5-year-old, don't be afraid to tell them about fertilization. Again, it's egg, sperm. They meet to make a baby. I have this great analogy I've been using for a long time. And this is how I taught middle schoolers about periods or about pregnancy. You have a uterus. And what does a hotel do? I'm going to ask you guys, and I'll see if you know this. What does a hotel do when you check out? What does a hotel do when you check out? Let's see who can answer that. Do, 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 do. All right. So I don't know how much of a lag time this has. When you check out of a hotel, they clean up. Thank you, Caleb. They clean up. They take off the sheets. So I explained to young people, the uterus has sheets, and that is called the endometrial lining. Okay? That endometrial lining. And the ovaries, that's where all the eggs chill. That's where they hang out. They actually have to go through the fallopian tube. I call that the fallopian freeway. Boom! So they go through the fallopian freeway. They're driving down that fallopian freeway, and they make a pit stop at the uterine hotel in that uterus. Now, if the egg and the sperm don't meet in that fallopian freeway, if they do not meet on the fallopian freeway, because a lot of people think Sperm fertilizes an egg in the uterus. Wrong. Actually, in the fallopian tubes. So if they don't meet there, right? And the egg just goes there and the egg is solo, the egg will check out, boom. And the hotel says, well, we got to change these sheets. And then that endometrial lining starts to shed, and that is a menstrual cycle, or that is your actual menstruation. Now, if the egg is running down that fallopian freeway and meets with the sperm, and it does implant or it does become a zygote, it's going to go to the fallopian or the fallopian, down the fallopian freeway to that uterine hotel. And it's going to implant in those sheets that endometrial lining. Kids are like, what? And I know maybe you're confused, but kids, young people, it makes it very simple. And then that's where the baby grows, is in the womb. So that is how I teach that. And then as we get older and we start to talk about birth control, I then use that same example to remind them what they were taught. So I think when you talk about any kind of sexuality stuff, I always encourage being inclusive. Okay. And that is like understanding gender and how gender is a social construct used to oppress people, often women, and really often women of color. So we want to teach our children to be social agents of change, even as little babies. We want righteous babies. So yes. All right. So this is another book that kind of takes on gender and kind of helps to degender roles or actions or kind of like behaviors that people might identify as boyish or girlish. Really easy to read, great bedtime story. And it just kind of goes in to like girls who like to, I love bugs and crawly things, beetles and centipedes, creatures with wings, T-Rex and paradont and all the dinos, lions, giraffes, tigers, and rhinos. But all the girls' clothes have the same two designs, just endless kittens, flowers on vines. Where are my hot pink jungle cats, my lavender raptors, and glittery bats? So it's really about like saying that girls can like boy things and nothing is gendered. Really great book. So there is that. So I'm hoping, I've been going now about 20 minutes. If you're liking this, let me get some hearts, I guess. Hearty. Let me know I'm doing okay. I just wanted to share, again, we're talking about how do you teach young people about sexuality, especially while you're homeschooling, right? Homeschooling. Don't forget sex ed. We started this month with my lives that were May, Masturbation May. That was now being pushed to be sex ed for all May because everybody deserves that. Oh, man. All right. The last book I'm going to share with you, and kind of when we think about gender and gender equity, and, being a good human and accepting all and loving all because love wins, and making sure we include our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. This is another really great book. It is a bit controversial. It's pretty fast paced. What it does is tells you countless stories of historians that may have, explored the beautiful queer life, and just all these wonderful LGBTQ people in history who made contributions and really made the world kick ass. And I love it. I think that, let's see, all stories of queerness. Let's see, who do we have here? There's a story about Abraham Lincoln. Nice. Eleanor Roosevelt. Nice. Harvey Milk, Sylvia Riviera, George Takei. And I mean, it's just like a bunch of wonderful stories. Bayard Rustin, like, come on. So another really good book. It is a bit thicker. This is a little bit more like probably late middle school, depending on the reading age. But to you, it definitely is a book of books. But I really think it's a great read. And then I feel like I had one other. Oh, I do. Yes, also for teens, my book, Teenage Girls or People Who Identify as Girls. The Girl's Guide to Sex Ed. I wrote this in, I want to say 2000, I think it came out 2018. So this book is dedicated to young women 10 to 14, maybe 15. I have had adults purchase it. They really liked it. And what this book is it's kind of like a hello, puberty. Hello, uh, puberty. I guess that's the best way. And it is for young women. I have gotten some requests to write one for young men. I have been thinking about how to approach that. Really interesting thing. Most of these questions in this book are actually from students I've worked with all across the country. So this is broken into 5 parts, and I just simply answer questions to these young people's questions. Just answer them. Really simple, 250 words. This is not giving them all the things. Because guess what? I want you to give them the things. That's right. In the foreword, it does ask parents to read the book first, to recognize that this book is designed to give young people language and words that will allow them to come and talk to their trusted, knowledgeable adult. Yes, yes. It's a good book. So it goes through, like I said, self-esteem in the beginning. So getting to know yourself, what's going on with my body. We talk about cellulite, like, hello, welcome to womanhood. Girl stuff, so periods, healthy relationships. And then the very last chapter is sex, right? Because I think it's a progression, a lead up. That's why I say, parents, please read this first so you know what's happening. This would be great for a 13-year-old. And again, I do need to probably work on a young man's book, but this would be great for a 13-year-old. So I'm going to give you an example real quick for like what's going on with my body. One of the questions says, why do my stretch marks itch? Hello, welcome to womanhood. Yes, you're growing. Your skin is stretching. No, that's not what it says. It says, good old stretch marks. We all have them and they're totally normal. They're caused by rapidly gaining or losing weight for teens going through puberty. They can also be associated with sudden growth spurts. The itching is usually caused by dry skin. To prevent that, after you shower, pat excessive water off of your skin, apply moisturizer. Keep your skin hydrated will help with the itching and visibility of stretch marks. Boom! See, look, just real practical advice. Use lotion. Don't be ashy. There we go. Here's a tough one. In the getting to know you section, it says, how do I tell my parents I'm gay? So here's what I say. Coming out as gay can be difficult no matter how old you are. In fact, I have adult friends who still haven't told their parents they're gay. So if you're ready to come out to your parents, I want to applaud you for being bold and knowing yourself well. I suggest finding a trusted adult ally who can help you talk about your feelings and practice how you're going to tell your parents. I hope your parents understand and that you are perfect the way you are, no matter whom you love. But the hard truth is that sometimes parents aren't willing to accept their kids' sexual orientation. If it doesn't feel safe to tell your parents, it is my hope that you can turn to another trusted, knowledgeable adult in your life as an ally and support system for you in terms of your sexual orientation and beyond. So recognizing that I'm not sugarcoating, but I'm also trying to just give them language and understand what's going on. So yes. So these are kind of the things. And then when we get to the heavier section of the book, I do go through signs to recognize like healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships. I actually put in there, this is called the Teen Powering Control Wheel. What about help with parents handle their child coming out? Great question, B-Boy Stance. So for parents, my advice, and I've said this many times, I may not be a parent. I am not the expert on parenting. I am not the expert of your child. However, what I would hope is in my years of educating young people and being a second parent to some, we have to remember it is our goal that we raise our children to be the best selves they can be, um not necessarily the best what we want for them. And I think that it's so that's where your gender expression and your gender identity might not might not be what your family expects or what societal norms kind of set forth. So you want to be open and understanding, recognizing this is your child's life, this is not your life, it is not a reflection on you, you did nothing wrong. We're living in an expansive time when people really can play across gender norms, and that's totally normal, and we're in a much more accepting, awoken era, I think. And really teaching young people to be as loving as possible to themselves, to the people around them, because as expansive as we are with information, we're also very fractured in short-minded thinking and being kind of like, you're bad because of this, you're bad because of that. We really kind of want to squash that and create equity in spaces. I think I saw somebody, thank you for sharing that your 13-year-old daughter just told me she likes both. I think that studs are fabulous. I think that non-binary, we make a lot of assumptions. I think that we have to remember that I'm kind of reading comments too. Sorry. We have to remember that when people come out, it can be difficult. And then when gender expressions, I like to express my gender in many different forms. And that's cool. I really love people sharing. So if I got a little distracted, I apologize. So yeah, so this goes through healthy relationships. I will say this about the book, pretty cisgendered and heteronormatively centered. I will be honest. I probably could have pushed the envelope a little more. Kind of let myself down there. Could have done a little better. Next time I will. All right. So in the sex section, there is this. Is girl on girl sex safer than boy on girl sex? Ha! Here's the answer. How do you answer that for teenagers, right? It says girl on girl sex will not get you pregnant, but there is still a risk of STIs. It is important that you and your partner, whatever their gender, have a conversation about getting tested and using protection before you engage in sexual activities. Simple, factual, done. So really identifying, like, I don't sugarcoat it. Because really, I would like to say, well, girl on girl sex can be safer, but we're not doing that. They don't need all that information. They need to know there is still a risk, period, point blank. All right. How do gay people have sex? I go into it all. And I said, there is no gay sex. I say, there is no gay way to have sex because the term sex does not hold the same meaning for all people. In addition, sexual activity is individual to each person or partner you encounter. Gay people can and do have sex in all the ways straight people do. Kissing, touching, vaginal, anal, oral, sometimes with toys. So basically some people would say it's a bit racy, but that is my book. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Just wanted to, give you an opportunity to, I'm studying to become a sex therapist, but it's hard to get in because it's not enough schools that specialize. How did you start? So I studied human development. Well, I studied marriage family therapy, then shifted to human development. Great question. Social work is great. I know people who have education backgrounds, sexuality, all those things are learned behavior. If you want to do, I don't know, what do you want to do? Like, I worked in, like, volunteered at, like, testing facilities. Yeah, I've been in it a while. Any resources for young men would be the Boy's Body Book, which is it's approved by the CDC. That's a really, I think there's like, it's like second or third edition. It's green on the front. It's an incredible book. If you want my book, that you can, if you want an autographed copy, you can DM me and I can send instructions. If you want just an Amazon copy, you can go to Amazon. Boom, boom, boom. All right. This book is targeted for like pubescent teens. You're looking at like 10 to maybe 15. Depends on where you're at. We do know that there are some youth that are a little bit more developed at younger ages than others. So that is that. Yes. Tomorrow, I want to let you guys know I will be going in live at 12:30 again. Tomorrow I won't have any tech issues like I did today with Zeliman, activist from New Jersey Patterson. He's an amazing man. We're going to be talking about mental health and social media. So I'm going to put that in. Let's see. What does that say? Can we talk about female erection? I didn't know females had one. It's the clitoris. It fills with blood, just like the penis. That's what the erection. Yeah, it swells. The whole labia swells with blood, similarly to men. I can do that one day though. So tomorrow, 12:30, join me back here. We're going to have a conversation again, mental health, and all this crazy time, but in a very positive way. So thank you so much. Until next time, I'm your favorite.